Hi, my name is Paula and I'm a new mom. Welcome to We've Probably Been There, a podcast by First Moms Club about how we really dealt and truly felt about everything motherhood. No BS, no judgment, and no advice, from us at least. Welcome to the club. This is the story of how early pregnancy says hello to its friends nausea, vomiting, and extreme fatigue. The first trimester is like the lottery. You never know what you're going to get. And if you're really unlucky, you're introduced to hyperemesis gravidarum. First trimester, wow, I don't miss that. 1 second I was happy and excited, and at a flip out of a hat, I'm frustrated, nauseous, and sleepy. I remember having to go to the washroom at work and having to take cat naps on the floor because I was so tired I couldn't keep my eyes open. And to top everything off, you can't tell anyone. Well, you can tell anyone, but I couldn't tell anyone. So everyone's like, where did Paula go? And someone actually saw that I was on the floor in the bathroom behind the stall sleeping because I couldn't keep my eyes open at work. However, I consider myself to be one of the lucky ones because with Maya, I maybe vomited 1 time. And with Maddie, maybe 2 or 3 times. Wave of nausea, absolutely. Fatigue, absolutely. But I have to say it was pretty textbook pregnancy. So I'm here with Dina and Bianca today, who were not so lucky and definitely, I think, won the jackpot when it comes to morning sickness. So Bianca is a mom of 2 boys. And Dina as well, mom of 2, 1 boy and 1 little girl. So tell us your story. Bianca, we'll start with you. I assume when you were pregnant with your first, or when both it was the same, but tell us how it all started, and when did you realize that this wasn't like the regular morning sickness song anymore?
Yeah, it was really difficult for me.
Okay.
With the first pregnancy to realize what was happening with me. Everybody was talking to me about morning sickness and getting sick. Yeah. And when I would tell them what was happening, I would usually just get, oh, that's normal. Like, I had that too. And the more it was going, the more I was getting signs, especially with my 5 senses, like touch, vision, smell. Touch, smell, hearing. Okay. That was affected a lot. Yeah. And for me, what was really the moment where I realized something was wrong is that I started logging how many times
you were puking.
Yeah, in a day I was puking because I was forgetting how many times I was getting sick.
Oh my God.
Because I was so tired. And for me, it wasn't in the morning. For me, it was usually, it started very violently in the afternoon and all night. And it would usually stop around 5 a.m. And I was okay for a few hours. But by the time I was waking up, maybe after, 2 hours of sleep, a night of 2 hours or a morning of 2 hours of sleep, I would kind of forget what had happened because it was continuous. It was day after day. So taking the time to log and seeing in the past, 3-4 hours, I vomited 11 times.
Oh my God.
And then as time would go on, it's been 15, 16,
and these 17. Are like actual vomits, not just like a little, like me, it was a little, but it was a vomit, like an actual food
first,
or liquid or.
Yes, but at one point, your stomach
there's
is
nothing
empty.
In there.
It's just
that's
bile
horrific.
And it burns.
Oh my God.
So when I hit the 25 times, I was like, this cannot continue. It wasn't just the logging, but it was also that I was absolutely exhausted.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I could not function. I could not get up to go to work. I couldn't do anything. And that's when I said, this is when I go see my doctor and I speak to her and I need to, how do we say this? Not vouch for myself. Do we say that? I have to speak up for myself and really let her know what's going on because it's impossible that all women go through this.
Did you ever think you had like a gastro?
Oddly enough, no. Okay. That never came through my mind. Okay. But I do have to say that right off the bat, I am somebody who can take in a lot. Okay. I can take a lot of stress. Okay. I can take a lot of not sleeping. Yeah. I can take a lot of that. So that definitely hindered my whole process of realizing like, hey,
Something's
it's
wrong.
about time that like, yeah, you slow
You don't
down.
want to complain.
Yeah, that too. It's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
So how long would you say, like when you found out you were pregnant, how long did you wait to go speak to your doctor, you would say, if you remember?
It's really hard to say, but I was still in the first trimester.
First trimester, okay.
Or if not, I had just entered the second.
Okay.
I did wait.
And this lasted your entire pregnancy?
It lasted almost the entire pregnancy. My best trimester, oddly enough, is the third trimester.
Wow.
That's when my body actually gets a break.
Okay.
I still have to be very conscious of what I'm doing and not overtire myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I am capable of, let's say, going out for a walk.
Okay.
I'm able to go outside for a little while or
Yeah.
do a little something. Be a normal human being with normal activities.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. And Dina, what was it like for you? And I know it was a little different for you, but
A little
can you
different, but a
relate to what Bianca's saying?
Some of the things, definitely. So I got pregnant December 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you guys remember, it was the first wave of COVID where everybody was getting sick.
Okay.
So before that, like it was a bit like odd here and there, but not like everybody around.
Yes, I remember.
So we're in December. I'm at work. Everybody's getting sick. Everybody's getting COVID. And that's the first month where we tried to get pregnant.
Okay.
With my partner.
And it
so
worked.
obviously, but you know, it's the first time, and I didn't think it would, like, we thought it would take a little while.
Mm-hmm.
So I start getting very tired, like can't keep my eyes opened at work. I'm in meetings and a bit like you're saying, but like I can't stay up all day, like exhaustion. And I'm like, oh, it's COVID.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting it. So every day I'm getting tested. Negative. I'm really pale on the screen. All my are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get COVID for sure. Like,
I'm gonna get COVID.
Like I'm on my way. The test is not positive, but like I'm on my way. And everybody's commenting on how pale I look and I don't look well. I'm like, yeah, COVID.
Did you know you were pregnant, sorry, at this time?
So I didn't think I was because I was bleeding. I was spotting. Now I know it was only spotting, but I thought, oh, okay, it can't be that. So I dismissed pregnancy. I'm like, it can't be pregnancy. So when you asked her if it was gastro, I was checking everything. I was like, if it's not COVID, maybe it's gastro. Maybe I ate something. So I'm checking all the other boxes. Just so tired. I remember that. I've never felt that tired. And we were working from home, so I wasn't doing anything particularly tiring. And then, so one day I tell my boss, I'm really tired. Like, it's probably COVID. I'm going to take the day off. And just try to like sleep. So I try to sleep. I can't really sleep. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go for a walk. And around my house, there's a pharmacy. And I go to the pharmacy and I'm like walking the aisles. And then I see a pregnancy test. I'm like, I have time to waste. So I'm going to like do.
Did you miss your period yet or no?
So I was bleeding. So I thought my period was coming in. You know, sometimes right before your period, you get like a little spotting.
Yeah.
So I thought I'm going to get my period. It was like a fun thing. So I even go at the pharmacy toilet. Like, I'm so sure.
I did that the first
I'm
time.
not. I'm gonna. So I remember I went in the washroom. I pee. I put the stick on
the toilet paper thing.
On the toilet paper thing, and I'm finished peeing. I don't know. And I put my pants up, and I see it from the corner of my eye. Positive.
Is it digital or analog?
It was
like
analog.
A plus sign?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So but like right away. It didn't take time. Right away, and I'm. Okay, I go closer, I rush home, see my partner, I'm like, it's positive. He's like, COVID? Oh, because we've been talking about it for a few days. And I'm like, it's like,
this is like a COVID test to you, buddy.
But you know, we're like, we've been talking about it for so many days that like, I was
COVID.
like, no.
You're talking about COVID.
COVID, because I was like, no, I'm pregnant. He's like, and you know, he's like, I remember his face, like, we like tried once, like you told me you were bleeding, and because we had that conversation, I was like, oh, it didn't work the first try, and I was like, no, I'm pregnant. He was like, I was like, aren't you happy? But it was just, you know, like shock, and he's like, yeah, I'm super happy. So then I was like, okay, I'm pregnant. this is normal. The first trimester, everybody talks about morning sickness. But I was spotting. So I'm like, maybe something's wrong. And then when you asked when I knew something was wrong, so this is December, we go to my in-laws for Christmas. And the whole Christmas, I'm like sleeping. Everybody were like, when I was like, I gotta go nap all the time. I'm like on a rocking chair. I'm like, in front. And this is like,
so you're like a 90-year-old man, but like
always they like put a blanket on me. They go for walks, and I'm always.
Were people like, is something wrong with her?
Well, my mother-in-law is an obstetrics nurse, and my sister-in-law is pregnant with her second one at the time, and a nurse as well.
Luckily.
And they're like, this is not normal.
Okay.
So they're the first one where like, tired, but not like once you see it and I'm sleeping maybe 10, 12, 15 hours a day, they're like, and I was like, I'm having pain, I'm bleeding. And they're like,
you were still bleeding at this point.
Yeah. So I bled for like the first month and a half.
Wow.
And I remember my sister-in-law came, she's like, you're probably having a miscarriage.
Another thing to think about for sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Like I'm like losing this baby. So there's a stress.
Oh my God.
And with the hormones, right? That shoots right up that fear. Right?
That fear where you're like, okay, I'm feeling terrible. Am I gonna have? It was
the
just
unknown,
the unknown. And then I come back to Montreal, and then I go to the bathroom, and then huge spat of blood in the toilet. And really? I remember we have a friend who had a miscarriage. I took a picture and I sent it to her.
And
she's like, miscarriage. Go to the emergency room, right? Like, there's just so much blood.
Really?
Yeah. So then we go together with my partner to the emergency room. I show them the picture. Like, they do an exam. There's just so much blood. They're like, yeah, you have miscarriage.
No.
Yeah, they're like, we're going to take a blood test. Then the pregnancy hormone was, like, low. So they're like, yeah, you're having a miscarriage. So they're, like, counseling me. I'm crying.
Oh, my God.
And then they're like, oh, we're just going to do a vaginal ultrasound. They're like, I've been there for like maybe 10 hours.
Pregnancy, right?
Yeah, because I think they have to like extract it. So they,
oh my God, I didn't know this.
To extract it, they have to do a transvaginal. And I remember, and I go there and I see the guy, like his eyes, like he saw something that he wasn't supposed to see. Or
okay.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, I was like, what? Tell me. He's like, I have to give it to. I was like, tell me, what is it? Because they're not supposed to tell you anything. He's like, I see a heartbeat.
Wow.
I was like, are you serious? He's like, listen, ma'am, I'm not. And I'm like, so then we go back and I wait to see the doctor. And she's like, there's a heartbeat.
What a roller coaster of emotions just at like during that day. Like Terrible. You're tired, you go to the hospital, then your friend tells you you're miscarrying. Then you go to the hospital, they tell you you're miscarrying. And then all of a sudden, nope, sorry, just kidding. You're not miscarrying. Wow. Okay. So yeah, go ahead.
Then range of emotions. Then we go home and I'm like, okay, I'm still pregnant. But they're like, you're bleeding a lot.
Yeah.
You could still lose it. So bedridden for 2 weeks. So I go home, bedridden. And then, I'm tired and exhausted. So then I think it's all related to this condition where I could lose the baby. And I don't think of anything else.
And no doctor is thinking about hyperemesis gravidarum at this point. Okay.
No.
Fine.
After that 2 weeks, and once the bleeding stops, that's when I kind of, I've been maybe pregnant for a month.
Okay.
That's when I realized something is wrong. Because I start vomiting, but then when my body did, I couldn't take in any food or water. Nothing. So I had nothing to throw up.
Oh my God.
And I was just nauseous all the time.
That's terrible.
But like, imagine being on a boat, on a rocky boat, but all the time. Like you can't step down. It was horrible, horrible. And the fatigue. So I would just sleep and sleep and sleep. And then I started going to see doctors and I was like, something is wrong. No, ma'am, this is your first pregnancy. You're fine. Like you're being dramatic kind of.
But telling them that you can't keep water down, I mean, should have maybe raised some flags.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but
because it was my first pregnancy and I couldn't compare it to anything else. And they were very quick to say, like before the first trimester, like they just... And then I tried, like asking, and nobody was feeling the same thing. They're like, oh yeah, I had morning sickness, or just like you're like, I slept at work on the floor. I was like, but every day. And then also, I had to tell my boss. I was like,
right, because you were not
functional. It's like way too soon. You're pregnant for 2-3 weeks a month. I was like, listen, she's like, you're not doing well. No, it's not COVID. Like, are you okay? You should go see a doctor. I was like, yeah. You don't want to tell?
Been there, done that.
And then I was lucky. I was very close with my boss. And I said, hey, listen, I have to tell you, like, it's very early on, but I'm pregnant and I'm really not feeling well. And she's like, oh. So very supportive, very kind, but I wasn't expecting. But then also my colleagues, I'm missing a lot of meetings.
Yeah.
I'm not there. What's wrong with Dina? Is she okay? Is she okay? And then when people see you, you're pale, you're like, obviously something is wrong and you're trying to like figure things out. And then
so you went to the hospital, they told you nothing's wrong with you, you come home and I'm assuming you're still vomiting and you can't.
Family doctor. Mine wasn't available, so I had to see another family doctor. He said, no, it's fine. This is like morning sickness, normal. And then I tried to see a gyno, but when you're pregnant, like the early first weeks, you can't see one. They're like, just wait. I was like, I really need to see one. So I went, and so I was pregnant in February 1st. I went, they're like, yeah. I remember it was February, it was snowing, I showed up in a tank top, like sweating. And I'm just there, and I asked so many people and everybody, and I remember she just said, are you okay? I was like, no.
Thanks for asking.
You did good to say
like,
no.
no.
It's not easy.
But
to be honest.
It was the first time somebody saw me and said, like, are you okay?
Was it the nurse, the doctor?
It was the nurse.
Okay.
She's like, this doesn't look normal. And, you know, it was the nurse of the gyno, so all these pregnant women. And for the first time, somebody was validating that something was wrong. She's like, you know what, I'm going to make you, because the first appointment, you only see the nurse.
Yeah.
She's like, I think you should see the gyno, and I think you should go to the emergency room. I was like,
finally.
Like, are you okay? She had to like convince me. I was like, no, something is really wrong. Like I have to. And then
you went to the emergency?
Yeah. Then I went to the emergency room, and right away they diagnosed me with HG. And I went to the CHUM hospital, which they were very knowledgeable of that condition. And right away, IV fluids. They stop eating. You don't drink water. You don't eat anything, and you just get the fluids from like 3 days. And then after that, they introduce food slowly. It's like just a toast the first day, and then a toast with jam, and then the next day like a boiled egg, and then as soon as you vomit, they restart the whole thing before letting you go. But hopefully I was there for like 5 days.
Okay.
And from that point on, I knew what I had. I knew what my condition was, and the nurse that was taking care of me had HG.
No way.
She had 3 kids. She's like, yeah, I redid it. You're gonna forget about this. You're gonna have another child.
Did you forget about it?
No. No. Because in my case, it was like the most severe kind of HG, where I had HG till the minute I gave birth.
Right.
And the second I gave birth.
And then when you gave birth, was it like a release? Like I remember,
So 9 months was a really, and they're like first trimester, a lot of women, even with HG, they like don't have any more symptoms. And there's also the expectation versus the reality. In my case was really tough. So I was worried about a lot of things about pregnancy and having a child, except for being pregnant. Whenever I saw a woman pregnant, I thought that was beautiful. I can't wait to eat food and have like this big belly, and everything's going to taste amazing. And I'm already a foodie, so I was like, this is going to elevate my game. Yeah. It's going to be amazing. So it was not matching at all.
Expectations.
At all. I wasn't eating anything or doing anything, or
there was no pregnancy glow.
No,
or if you had it, you didn't feel it. Anyways, there was none of that. Yeah,
I was green and pale, and like I couldn't do anything. But the moment, and so the first trimester, and then they say, oh, maybe second trimester, and then a lot of HG. People who have HG, women who have HG, at the third trimester, it gets a lot better. Yeah. Not for me. So, but I kept like minding myself, okay, after first trimester, I even told my boss, it's going to get better. I'm going to go back to work. And even before my doctor said it was okay, I remember I went back to work for like 2 days, and then I was throwing up. I was like, listen. And then
the spiral just restarts again.
And again and again and again. What helped me also when I was hospitalized, that was a pivotal point for me, but they gave me a therapist.
Okay.
They assigned me a therapist, and even when I left, she kept calling me weekly, and she's like, I can call you more often, because the mental toll is nuts, because every day is the same. When you said logging, I started logging everything. Because I was like, I would tell people I'm sleeping 15-hour days, like 20 hours. I was like, is that an exaggeration? Because I would just black out and don't remember anything because you're throwing up, you're nauseous, you're sleeping, you're not eating, you're not drinking
the same day over and over and over again for 9 months.
And then people just say, the tough thing also when I was hospitalized is there's no solution for HG. Diclectin didn't work for me. Yeah. And then they told me basically we give you medication to sleep it off.
Because when you're sleeping, you're not nauseous, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the principle behind They don't understand why you get it. They don't understand why some women are more sensitive to it. They say maybe some women are more sensitive to hormones or hormone flow, but they don't understand HG, and that's the way you deal with HG. It's just you sleep.
Interesting fact, you were talking about the hormone level. I could have probably had a sign that I would maybe have HG. Well, not that it was on my top of mind list of things when I was not pregnant before. Yeah. But for me, taking the birth control pill, I always remember the first days when my first pills that I would take, I was always nauseous. Always.
Funny that you say that because I was never able to take birth control because I was too sensitive to hormones. Oh, like
would it make you nauseous?
Very nauseous. It would 99.9, like only 1% of women or 0.1% of women feel these side effects. I would always feel. But they weren't able with like studies to firmly like associate it with that. But that's what's the probability that you might be more sensitive to hormones. But so I felt hopeless. I felt like I would never have my life back. And, whenever there would be, after the first trimester, it would end or this or that, like it would never.
The light at the end of the tunnel, you didn't see it?
There was none. And then once I accepted, they said, when you're going to give birth, I was like, are you sure when I give birth that it would stop? Because then it plays with your mind. I was like, I'm never going to drink water again. I'm never going to eat again. I'm never going to. But once you accept it, and with the therapist, a lot of talking. And I had also these negative thoughts, like I wanted my child and I loved my child, but I hated being pregnant. And I remember she said, it's like there's a parasite in you. And I was like, like once she said that, I was like, am I allowed to say, because that's how I feel. Like there's something taking over my body and taking all the nutrients they need, but I hated being pregnant. It just felt horrible.
I 100% agree with that. For me either, pregnancy was a nightmare. And my biggest question every single day was, am I physically and mentally and emotionally strong enough to reach the 9 months? Because it takes a toll on you. You're completely depleted in every single way. But the positive thing for me, and I think maybe you too, the moment you give birth, it's true. The moment that baby is out of you, it's like a big breath and like you're back to life. You're back to life. And it's beautiful, at least for me, it's beautiful for me because my baby was there. My baby was in my arms. I enjoyed the closeness. And it's just, all that weight is just lifted off immediately.
I remember I gave birth and I held my baby and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
There was no resentment. There was no nothing. It was just like, all this was worth it to have like this bundle of joy. And I remember the first time I drank a glass of water. It was like, I would be pregnant because, you have to drink water because if you're dehydrated, I'd have to go back to the hospital. So it was like little sips. Like a little 1 or 2 sips every like hour just to stay afloat or like Gatorade or like things like that. But like really just sips. And I remember dreaming of like drinking like a whole glass of cold water. Like, and I remember I gave her and I was like, can I have a glass? And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing because nothing worked. So people said, they would tell me, because then I found a support group, eat small snacks, chew on ice, drink really cold water, all the tricks, like nothing worked for me. And then just to find that group and then just to be in this subgroup where nothing even worked felt just, honestly, it was the worst experience of my life.
God.
It was.
Did you ever feel, because it must have not been easy for your partners, for your husbands either. Especially, with your second to having a first, and anyway. Was there ever any feeling of like, not only are you sick and you feel like crap and, all that you just described, but, thinking about your partner and like did you feel guilty that he had to take over in a certain way and you were like paralyzed, kind of?
So in my case, so my partner, I have my stepson. So my stepson was 3, and they were incredible. I remember every morning my stepson would go to the kindergarten. He'd come, he'd like bring me a really cold Gatorade. They'd like give me a kiss, have a good day, very sweet. And my partner took over everything, but I started feeling angry that we're pregnant.
Okay.
But I'm the one that
Suffering?
can't do anything. But he took over everything. So like the gratitude that you're talking about only comes like now my daughter's 9 months pregnant, 9 months
old.
And I think back and I'm like, oh my God, you took over everything. But I didn't have that gratitude for a long time. And those are feelings that I talked about with the therapist, where I just felt anger, and it was unfair.
Yeah.
It was unfair that we were both parents.
Yeah.
And I was the only one
Suffering.
But
you didn't feel bad that he had to take over like a certain load.
There's so few moments of rational thinking in my day where it's not surviving that I was never able to like
think of somebody else.
No.
Like you had to just get through the day without puking 100 times.
Yeah, and it was more, if there was a feeling towards it was anger and jealousy and envy that his life got to go on, and he was going to be as much of a parent that I was going to be.
Yeah.
And I remember at times I would just leave and go to my mom's.
Yeah.
And then stay there for a few days to just be like,
because
I also felt you lose. I don't know about you, I lost so much autonomy. He was doing everything.
Right.
So that was the gratitude that again wasn't there. I just felt like somebody had to take care of everything. Mm-hmm. I couldn't do anything, so that was very difficult. I don't know.
How about you, Bianca? How did you feel when you couldn't do your day to day, and your husband had to kind of take over, like, and work, I assume, at the same time? Like, did you feel, any guilt or any like? Did you feel bad for him, or were you just trying to get through the day, like Dina?
For my second, that's where I remember feeling more guilt.
Okay.
So I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. Mm-hmm. At the time, my firstborn was he wasn't even 2 yet. So there's a lot to do when you have a 1-year-old. Mm-hmm. And John took on everything. And I do remember feeling guilty that he was doing everything, not just for our son, but he was also doing everything around the home.
Preparing the meals.
Everything.
Cleaning.
Laundry.
Yeah. We did ask for help.
Yeah.
We asked for a lot of help from both sides of the family.
Okay.
And that was absolutely amazing.
Okay.
I think that we couldn't have gotten through this, can I say, or
nightmare?
Sorry?
Nightmare?
Yeah, through this nightmare without their help.
Yeah.
So I'm super grateful that they were there. Mm-hmm. And I mostly remember also feeling guilt that I was incapable of spending time with my firstborn.
Yeah. Right.
That's what really hurt me and brought me to tears so many times, because I had to go through, the best way that I can explain this is that I had to go through a heartbreak with my firstborn. Mm-hmm. There was something that, because I was sick, there was a break, there was a rupture, that I wasn't able to be the mother that I wanted to be to him at that age. Yeah. And the most important thing to me, and this always brings tears to my eyes.
Please.
The most important thing to me every single day was I would stay in bed, and I was incapable of doing anything. I couldn't look at screens. I couldn't go anywhere. Brushing my teeth was difficult. Imagine taking a shower. A shower was a miracle if I was ever able to do it. It was a good day when you were capable of showering. The only thing that I would gather all my energy up for was reading a story at bedtime to my son.
Here it goes.
That was it. Yeah. And if I could just do that, I would tell myself, well, at least I'm giving a moment to my son,
God,
and he feels loved, and I feel that connection and that love as well.
Yeah. And you know what I find really tough, even now I have a 3-year-old as well, and I find that admitting to your 3-year-old, okay, admitting to your 3-year-old, like, mommy's not feeling well or mommy's sick is so hard because in their eyes, I remember being a kid, like, your parents are the strong ones, you know, like, they don't get sick and like you don't want to worry them.
That's true.
So admitting to your kid, you know, that like them seeing you bedridden for 9 months must scare them. And that's another, you know, mental load that you have on yourself because you don't want to scare your children. And I'm sure your husband had to explain, you know, mommy's not feeling well, right? And that's another thing that he has to do. So it's just, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Sorry. Very difficult.
I remember
how to maneuver all that.
It is. I remember always telling Theodore, my 1-year-old son at the time, oh, mommy's just a little bit sick. Because I didn't want to worry him.
Yeah, you have to,
It wasn't like a big sickness.
Yeah.
Well, to me it was. But to him, I tried to minimize it. Just so,
yeah. Oh, that must have been really tough. And then when you gave birth, everything was, you were released, everything was fine, and you were able to get back to yourself again.
I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So I have 2 kids.
Yeah. Would you do it again, knowing the nightmare that you've lived twice? Because you already did it twice, so it's safe to ask, would you do it a 3rd time?
But was it a big decision to do it a 2nd time? Was AG?
So oddly enough,
sorry, did you know you were going to get it the 2nd time? Because maybe it's like...
My doctor told me it's not 100% sure that it's going to manifest itself a 2nd time.
See, my doctor said it's 100%.
Okay.
And I was very optimistic.
That it wouldn't.
I was.
Yeah.
I was.
Sure, good.
Yeah.
Good for you. No, but good for you, because you wouldn't have had your 2nd kid otherwise.
No.
But was it as bad the 2nd time?
Oh, yeah, it was worse.
No, but I mean knowing.
Even worse than the first time.
But did you feel more prepared? Now all the questions are coming in.
I did feel more prepared.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, from the beginning, I read the signs and I knew it was time to stop working, to rest, to not push myself.
Okay.
And also give myself grace for not being able to work.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a professional,
absolutely.
And as someone who enjoys their work, it was so difficult for me. My first pregnancy and my 2nd, both times it was really hard to be incapable to work. I did go back to work, especially in my 3rd trimester part-time, but it was very difficult to even just be there like part-time. Yeah. I wanted to be that...
Your old self.
Yeah, I wanted to be able to accomplish, do... I enjoy that part of me.
I can totally relate to that because stopping, like not working was such a tough decision for me as well. Like just to accept that I couldn't do it and I hadn't planned it that way. And so many women are at work for 9 months and then it was really, and it was such a big part of my identity and what I did and my teammates, and because once I stopped working, then everything else was taken away. And when you talked about a good day, that was tough too. Like once your expectations, like if you have HG, your expectation need to be set real low, real low. That's gonna help you. It helped me mentally just to take on every day. Just every day is gonna be the same, and just not get tired. That once I accepted it, okay, I'm not going to get tired, but then everything gets you tired. Screen gets you tired, talking on the phone, seeing people, having people come over. So for me, like a good day was definitely a shower. and my shower was, I would take like a little bench and I couldn't even stand in my shower.
You guys sound like you're 100 years old. I'm sorry, but like
a
bench in the tub.
That's how it felt.
And I would like turn on the shower and just sit on it and just have the water on me.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean,
like I couldn't even stand.
Yeah.
Like
I remember getting out of bed and walking crunched over and like walking very slowly. Because when you're malnourished, also everything slows down. Not just your brain, but finger movement slows down. Imagine leg movement.
Crazy.
So when you're used to like being this like vibrant woman who like works and goes and works out and does this and that, and then you're brought back to this like speed of nothing and accepting to like do nothing. And it's...
And one more question. Do you think that seeking, like when you seeked a therapist or when you spoke to a therapist, did that help at all? Like, is that something that
changed the game?
Okay.
If I have, like, to my knowledge, there's no cure, there was nothing.
Yeah.
And the mental like toll is so tough. And it's not a month, it's not a few weeks. It's not, if you're lucky, maybe a trimester, maybe 2. But even then, and I went to the hospital and they said like, we will assign you
a therapist.
Yeah, I didn't ask for one. Didn't, and I remember I didn't get to see her because she wasn't available the 5 days I was at the hospital. And then she called me. And then every week she would call me. How are you? Let's talk. What's on your mind?
You needed someone to, I guess, like, not necessarily know what you're going through, but validate what you were going through because your partner couldn't. A lot of your friends can't.
You have, I think the therapist gives you that. I mean, not just with this issue in general, just this safe space also to say whatever
is on your mind. Well, thank you very much, Dina and Bianca, for sharing your stories with us. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys again really soon. You've been listening to We've Probably Been There, a podcast by First Moms Club. Follow First Moms Club on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Watch us on YouTube and Spotify, and listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. Join us next week for more stories about this roller coaster we call motherhood. Thank you for listening.